Alright, hello everyone. Alien Romulus. Alright, to be completely honest, I didn't really want to make this video because I didn't really want to watch the movie in the first place. Because the previous movie, Alien Covenant, was it was not my cup of tea to say the least. But with Alien Romulus, it has good rating, incredible box office compared to 88 million of the budget. And a lot of people say it's finally a good sequel. And okay, before I get into the plot, I wanted to say that I do not consider this a bad movie in the Alien franchise. Movie undoubtedly has a lot of strong scenes and a lot of good acting, but in my opinion, a lot of it crumbles when you actually listen to the story. Especially when before this movie came out, it had a lot of advertising. Some actors were pretending they were bit by the facehuggers on the streets. Some were showing live alien reaction literally in the theaters. This all is good advertising, I'm gonna say, because it did keep me hooked and I waited for this movie to come out. Until I started listening to promotion pieces from the filming team, where the director was also the writer of the film, which, in my opinion, is kind of a bad sign. This movie was in production hell for a long time and was basically rewritten several times, to the point where I was worried there's even gonna be a movie in the first place. At some point, studio executives even considered replacing it with Ridley Scott Alien movies, which was also being developed about at the same time, but I mean, that didn't work out so well, did it? On top of that, once again, we were getting speeches about how, yes, we're finally continuing the story of the first Aliens, we're finally gonna have a good sequel, the sequel to this very first Alien that everybody liked.
Oh no. Here we go again. Here we go again.
I was kind of rolling my eyes when I heard that. It did kind of sounded like the fake promises other movies were making when continuing Alien franchise, and let's say those didn't really continue the franchise per se. They all went completely different direction with a different tone and explored a different setting. So with all that being said, how did the Romulus do? Alright, the movie Alien Romulus picks up in between first and second Aliens. I remind you, in first movie, Ellen Ripley destroyed the original spaceship she was traveling on, killing Alien and getting to the sleeping pod, and her story continues in the second film. Meanwhile, the company who was tracking them the entire time, and whose existence apparently revolves solely around the idea of getting xenomorph DNA and weaponizing it, tracked them down, and in the wreckage of the ship, they found a live xenomorph who's just drifting through space. Yeah, I remind you, the ship went freaking supernova. It exploded like a nuclear weapon in the first film, and yet Xenomorph that can just be stabbed is completely okay after that. On top of that, the company for some reason wanted to go the extra mile and search for this random xenomorph that can potentially be dead in the wreckage of the ship. That is when the company is completely aware that there is a whole planet full of facehuggers just ready to be taken. They have all of the recordings from Ripley's ship. They always been watching the characters. That was the whole plot of original movies. Yet, they decide to look for this random xenomorph who might not even be alive. It's alive only because the plot conveniently said so. But then happened pretty much what everyone's expected. Xenomorph unalived everyone on the ship and left it mindlessly drifting towards the mining planet. Don't be too hyped up about it, though, it all happens off screen. Basically, that's when we cut to the main characters of the film, Rain and her best friend android Andy, who are, as you might have guessed, are miners. Yeah, basically like in Transformers 1, everyone on this planet is forced to work until they cannot work any longer. And company, of course, doesn't care about any human rights violations and basically forces them to work overtime again and again and again. I personally do like that we finally getting more look of the world of the aliens when before we weren't really glancing at any of the existing human colonies. This cyberpunk kind of future, even though is overused, like Star Wars already explored that theme a bunch of times, but I'm always a sucker for a good, well done cyberpunk world where the companies are essentially doing the role of the government, which is the aesthetics are done pretty well here. Androids in this world are really, really rare and really, really expensive. On top of that, they later say that the android has access to like almost any spaceship of the company because he's in the system. So why would anybody let her keep the android if they know it's valuable as shit? Like, everybody around knows it's an android, and the company doesn't seem to have a problem with violating any rules of her contract, so what's the problem there?
I'm sorry, but you're not eligible for contract release yet.
Wait, what?
Due to a shortage of workers, you're being transferred to the mines.
We are introduced to Rain's friends who, what a coincidence, catch the signal from this space station I mentioned previously, which is just drifting towards the planet. Of course, they are planning on raiding it because they have an android who can literally open any door over there, and since they're dreaming of escaping this planet anyway, this space station may provide the ticket to do so. And okay, in here I want to defend the movie a little bit, because a lot of people complain that, well, how the hell did they saw the giant spaceship and nobody else saw the spaceship? I know that's basically what I'm doing in my videos, but that's beside the point. A little detail in cinematography is that the whole planet is covered by smoke from volcanoes. So they were basically just lucky to spot the ship before anybody else, which is a nice detail. They successfully infiltrate the space station using android codes, and the plan originally was to hijack the space station and travel on it to the nearest planet. Alright, so far, everything makes sense. They needed to escape their dead-end job, and to do so, they needed a space station, because the spaceship they had didn't have sleeping pods, and the nearest planet is like really far away. But the sleeping pods at the space station are broken, so they couldn't just fly away right away. While the boys are trying to figure out how to fix the sleeping capsules, turns out one of the girls is pregnant, and she has no idea who's the father. Anyhow, meanwhile, boys found out that something just melted through the floor of the space station, and they're like, and their reaction is basically like, oh, whatever, must have been some chemical. I just love that. Like, okay, I get that everyone besides Rain and Andy are basically side characters who just there to be later assassinated by Xenomorph, but can you have a wider reaction, jeez? But if before everything was going convenient for the characters, then the plot kicks in and everything becomes kind of stupid. Basically, the boys were looking for the fuel for the sleeping pods. They found it in the room that is literally fueled by water. They have no problem just going in that water, even though they don't even know if it's actually water. For all they know, it might be this chemical that was melting walls earlier. They're trying to detach the fuel, not knowing that the sleeping pod's fuel is actually, well, keeping all the facehuggers asleep that are actually there, and that they conveniently haven't seen. As a result, suspense, facehuggers are let loose. They have no idea what's happening, the door is magically locked, and oh boys, you're fucked. As a result, one of the girls is now bit by a facehugger, and at the same time, she's a pilot, so they can't just leave the space station anymore. They boot up the half android they found earlier, so he can explain what the hell is actually going on around here. Robot, instead of answering questions straight, ignores all the questions and just tells these guys to kill this girl because it would be merciful, as he says, and tells them that she cannot be saved. Alright guys, I get that you have to keep the suspense on and everything has to be dramatic, but bruh, this is an android. He has to answer all of the questions asked by him. And on top of that, like, what is the mystery about? We know what's gonna happen. For which, the half of the android proceeds to explain the whole story of Alien 1. That Ripley was the one to kill the alien, and that the company later found this alien in space and brought it to the ship. And even though people on the space station managed to kill this one xenomorph, they still died while trying. But, wait, hang on. How the hell did they got all of those facehuggers then? They had like 20 in this one room. Well, you see in the explanation which Android conveniently provided to literally those random people, he managed to clone them from xenomorph DNA and... Huh?
Fucking explanation is that?
And okay, can somebody explain how this makes any sense? And okay, if the writers read alien lore, they would know that Queen is not the only way they can get a facehugger. That was even shown in the second movie. They can get random people into their hive and cover them in this like black goo, which eventually creates the egg of facehuggers. Bruh, again, it would have made much more sense if they just gathered all of those facehuggers from the original planet shown in Alien 1. That would have just made sense, but no, they had to do the cloning process again because that was really successful in Alien 4, right? Alright, in addition to that, remember how in first movies they established that if facehugger gets you, there's literally no way to take it off. They said if you try, you die, basically. Well, no, because Rayan just suggested that they would freeze off the tail of the facehugger, and they just take it off the first try without any damages to the face of this, well, pretty actress. Okay, like, we're in a horror movie. I don't want to rant about this too much. Maybe I'm wrong, but wouldn't it be more badass if she was running with, like, a scar on her face for the rest of the film? That would have been cool, don't you think? And okay, maybe you can explain that with the fact that those facehuggers are clones of facehuggers, and because of that, they're just really easy to take off the face. You can also use that as an explanation for why the next alien just hatches really, really quickly, because basically the moment they're trying to fly away, right away the pilot feels bad, she checks herself, and yep, there's already an almost fully grown alien inside of her. Alright, then I have no complaints actually, because the situation escalates pretty reasonably and pretty terribly. While the newborn xenomorph started getting out of the girl's chest, she accidentally, well, because she's in pain, you know, kicked the lever that activates the spaceship. Spaceship started driving without anyone and broke the space station's fuel supply, which caused space station to drift uncontrollably towards the belt of asteroids. And if before characters had like 30 hours before station collides with the belt of asteroids, now they have like 30 minutes. So now they have to get to the spaceship, which is just stuck on the other side of space station, get out of there before it's completely destroyed. And all of that while there's a bunch of facehuggers crawling around the place. But apparently, as Android says, those facehuggers have no eyes, and if they raise the temperature in the room, they can just walk freely without facehugger noticing them? Okay. Yeah, apparently the xenomorphs, which are perfect organism as all of the movies describe them, are not so perfect after all. In addition to that, it is honestly quite annoying because, like I said, the main characters, Andy and Rain, literally come up with a solution almost every time there's a problem. Because of that old tension that the movie tries to rise up, in my opinion, feels really dull because literally every time there's a problem, they come out with a solution almost instantly. That solution is almost always effective. Even now, as they walked past all the facehuggers on the way to the ship, everything works smoothly for the most of it.
And then this happens right here.
Then, of course, one of them makes noise because, well, of course, you expect everything's gonna go smoothly, and actually really cool scene starts playing. Because the character starts running away from the facehuggers, and while they fly all around the building dodging them, looks cool. This is actually something new for the franchise. Meanwhile, the pregnant lady who was with the pilot and some other guy who is not really important, he's dumb as hell, got stranded on the other side of the station where Xenomorph already hatched and already started growing on the side of the wall. By the way, I call this guy really stupid. You know why? Because he decided to just poke this Xenomorph hive. He just saw a strange looking alien thing on the wall, decided to stab it. I think needless to say he just got sprayed with acid. As a result, pregnant girl is now one-on-one with a Xenomorph. Congrats! And while the pregnant girl is trying to open the door, the alien takes really long time and he does it really slowly to start attacking her because, I mean, I don't know, the tension and all, right? And not gonna lie, the next scene kind of caught me off guard. Because when the pregnant girl was basically one-on-one with the Xenomorph, her friends didn't open the door because the android said that that's basically what Xenomorph wants them to do. So yeah, she dead for real. Not gonna lie, I was actually kind of impressed. I thought Disney wouldn't do that because when she said that she was pregnant, I thought that it was basically golden ticket. Like Disney wouldn't dare to kill her after that, but no, I guess not. I was wrong. That is actually a really strong scene. After that strong scene, again, we have kind of a weird scene because half of the android again starts spitting a bunch of exposition and breaking lore even farther. Apparently, along with unlocking the secrets of Xenomorph's DNA, they also made something like a super soldier serum, which is this black goo, which apparently has the same effects as black goo from Prometheus. In addition, Android shows them where the guns are, and they find a whole ass hive. Yes, apparently that one original alien who was on the space station, besides killing everyone else on this giant space station, also made a hive. Alright, I get that this movie has to raise the stakes basically every 5 seconds to keep the tension on, but come on! Did nobody notice this when this was happening? This space station is giant as hell, and nobody even sent like an SOS signal. Nobody even knew the space station was missing, apparently. But after that, remember how I said I was really impressed that Disney was able to insert the scene of pregnant lady? Well, turns out she's okay in the hive, even though she got stabbed with the tail of Xenomorph. How? I mean, yeah, okay, they do proceed to say that she doesn't feel well, and because of that, they decide to inject her with this black goo, aka the super soldier serum, because it's gonna make her feel good. I don't know what their logic was. They just been in the science laboratory where this black goo was tested, and there's a bunch of weird dead monsters on the ground. Rain, however, says that, yeah, it's a bad idea to do that. I mean, overall, she's probably the most intelligent horror protagonist of all time, because pretty much every time something dumb happens, she points it out. And every time there's a problem, she solves it in like 5 seconds, which is okay. Like, okay, even now, Xenomorphs are starting attacking them. Tyler, which was this guy, by the way, I just suddenly remember his name, got killed really quickly, even though he was a good guy, and by all the stereotypes of horror movies, I thought he would have a cool monologue before dying, but no, he just gets killed really quickly. Rain and the pregnant girl managed to escape, however, the android had lag, and he basically just fell on the ground.
When did that ever help?
It was established earlier in the movie that he has those, like, lags or glitches that make him collapse on the ground, basically, but they only happened, like, twice in the first, like, opening of the movie, and I honestly kind of forgot about him. Rain still wanted to save the android, however, which makes sense, to be honest. It's the only thing she kept from her father, and it's basically her best friend. However, when she arrives there, the Xenomorph is not there anymore. He just left somewhere, I don't know. Half of the android, who was basically narrating everything characters do this whole time and broadcasting himself on all the TVs around the space station, suggests that pregnant girl should just inject herself with this black goo, she would feel better, and after that she can abandon Rain and the android and just escape on the spaceship because the android can control it remotely for her. That was pretty cool twist actually, because the goal of the android is just to get this black goo to the company. So his actions do make sense. Actions of the pregnant lady, on the other hand, do not, because why would she abandon her friends? Why would she inject herself with something she doesn't even know does? What if it's a poison? For all she know, Android might be lying to her. But no, she does it, feels better now, and gets on the ship. Yeah, so Rain is basically left one-on-one with a bunch of aliens. The android is still malfunctioning, she basically has to drag it, but remember I said she can basically figure out a solution for every problem, so she just turns off the gravity on the space station, and as a result, all the Xenomorphs are just uncontrollably flying towards her, so she can easily shoot them one by one.
Right, but isn't that like kind of a good thing?
This scene is creative, but I'm so tired of the plot just revolving around this girl. Like, everything falls in her favor. Why are the Xenomorphs just mindlessly running towards her like they don't know what the gun is? Before that, they were shown as intelligent creatures, more or less. They were able to, like, predict that the friends are gonna open the door for the pregnant lady where she was begging. But right now, no, they're just stupid animals. On top of that, she flies in zero gravity through all of this acid, which is just flying in the air, by the way. Nothing touches her, not a scratch. After that, the gravity for some reason turns on and she's falling, but before crashing to death, she's catched by the Xenomorph. And then, so everything was even more convenient, the android conveniently catches another gun, and right before Rain can be killed by a xenomorph who was slowly hissing at her by the way, the android just drops on the xenomorph and kills it. And okay, sorry, I don't want to hate on this scene. This scene is good because it does shows the empathy androids can make. Before, he was less emotions, and even when the pregnant girl was demanding to open the door, basically begging when she knew Monster was right behind her, he wasn't opening it because he knew it was not the logical thing to do. Right now, when it's not logical, he still saved Ray because she is the girl who was so emotional and attached towards him. But, bruh, he is shooting Alien, and the acid is being splashed right, like all over the room, basically, but he's not hurt. He's not damaged, not a scratch on him either. And in previous movies, when you shoot the alien who's right in front of you, you get covered in acid. That's part of the danger of those aliens. And after that, happens a really cool finale, which is kinda stupid. Because Rain doesn't know that the pregnant girl has injected herself with the black goo, but when they meet up, she seems really chill and all of a sudden becomes really stupid. She doesn't pay attention that the girl who was almost dead a few minutes ago is now completely fine. So as a result...
He's a pretty scary dude, huh?
Yep, that thing hatches from her, and okay, like I said in previous movies, this is exactly the freaky shit I want to see in the Alien franchises, where something new is shown to us. Especially when you know this is an actor in a suit. This is not CGI, this is an actual person just in a suit. But oh boy, the android who was previously shown to be so strong he was able to hold basically a giant lift with one hand, right now just stands not doing anything like he's a human in a shock. So this alien basically slashes him really easily.
Yes, of course it is.
After which, with a pretty interesting homage to the first movie, she also drops this giant guy in the belt of asteroids where he explodes, after which she deactivates the android, puts herself in the sleeping pod, and sets the autopilot to the nearest planet. Okay, I'm sorry, girl, but I would not fall asleep at least for like a week after that, because, like, for all you know, there might be a few more facehuggers or maybe xenomorphs on that spaceship. And okay, what can I say in the result of this film? Was this movie stupid? Yes. Yes, it was. But still, not gonna lie, I did enjoy that film. It is actually a breath of fresh air, especially comparing to a lot of other Alien sequels. This one not only is made in the locations of one ship, which is definitely more refreshing after all of those planets, it is also centered around a group of people who don't actually know what's happening and kind of have to figure out stuff for themselves. Yes, the information they have to figure out is basically presented to them on the silver platter, and yes, the problems they have to overcome with the plot, but cinematography and the acting of this film kinda carries, and I'm ready to forgive a lot of problems. So in the end, do I think this is a good sequel to the original Aliens? Well,
no.
This movie definitely made a lot of money. I think it's like the second most successful film in the franchise. So that means sequel already must be in the works, probably. So at least I would rather want to watch this kind of messy adventure instead of Ridley Scott reimagining of Aliens. And I guess that's it. See ya.